Hey there, what is up guys? This is Rana Shirazali Khan from dothedev.com. So today we'll be discussing to customize Django admin site, and specifically what we're doing, we are actually customizing the list display part of it and playing around with it. So let's get right into it. What I've done so far is I've created a project, my site, and we also have a customer app, and the models for that app looks something like this. We have right now two models, a customer model and an order model. The customer model has a user object which is connected to the abstract Django user, and which further contains like user basic stuff, username, email, and is super user, is active, and stuff like that. So it's actually, as we can see, it's a foreign key to that, and we have some extra fields here like profile, URL for GitHub, and phone number, and is verified with a boolean. And we also have an order model just to show how what we can do, like what other stuff we can do with these relational objects. So this order object, which of course in the real life will have a lot more stuff here, but for now it's just a connection between the customer and the order. So we can have multiple customers, and those customers can have multiple orders. So this very basic stuff. So I have the admin panel up, and if I go to there, I've already created a user using Python managed by create super user, and I've logged in. So the admin panel looks something like this, and my apps are not there yet. In the URLs, I already have the admin URL. That's why I can go to the admin URL. And so what if I want these models to show up here? So obviously I have to add them to the admin side. So what we can do is site.register, and then register the model which we want. For instance, if I want to this customer model to show up on the admin side, I just have to add there and import it as well, of course. Right. So if I now refresh, so I should be able to say it. Maybe restart the server. Okay, so it's not yet showing because I haven't added the app to the installed apps yet. Okay, so now we added the customer model inside the admin.py, and it's showing up here under the customer app. It's showing under the customer app because I have added it under the admin.py, which exists under customer app. It for instance, if I had like multiple apps, and obviously each app comes with another their own admin.py, so it doesn't matter the model exists under which app. If I add it under a specific app's admin.py, it will show up under that title. So prior to this tutorial, I added some data to the database, so which is showing up right here. So as you can see, it's not showing up like some informative data. It's just showing the customer object one, and if I keep on adding the customers or more objects to the database, it will keep on showing stuff like that. So what if I want to show like more user-friendly or readable data? So whenever an object is returned in Django ORM, it's if we don't send it in a certain way, it just goes like this. So to specify that certain way, we have this method str. Whatever we return here will be the default name of the object. If I just say something like static, it will always say for all of the users, it will be this, what I'm returning in this double underscore str double underscore object. But for now, what will be returning something obviously unique, the ID, and let's say the username, or maybe for ID for now. I can say self.pk or self.id, both will work fine. By the way, the ID we didn't define in the model, but Django added by default for us. So like it's showing right now. Okay, so coming towards the customization, what else what if I want to show like multiple data here, multiple columns? We have seen like in their default user model, it has like multiple data. So what if we want to show that on our custom model? So we can go to the admin side. We can create a class, say it customer admin. You can name it anything you want, and admin dot model admin. We have to include that class here when we're registering, like this model should be shown how we define here. So inside the list display, if I want to show the ID, the phone number, these are the objects I'm picking up from my customer model: phone number, GitHub profile, URL, etc. So now all of them are listed down here. Another thing we can see is that they are, by default, the ordering is applied to them. Therefore, we can see it's also being changed in the URL as well. Okay, so we have figured out like we can show like basic stuff which exists in the database. We can show it very easily. All we have to do is go to the admin.py and list them out here, right? Very basic stuff. So what if we want to show some data which doesn't exist in the database yet? Like I added this phone number because this phone number exists inside the DB. It will automatically map this the data inside this field and that column and map it to the admin panel list display. But what if I want to show like which doesn't exist in the database, or it exists in the database but I want to change the format of it? I want to show something different than what's being shown here. So like in a real world, for example, before going to that, let's include our other model, which is orders model here as well. Similarly, we'll duplicate this order admin. For now, we'll pause. We won't add anything. Okay, so we haven't imported the order yet. Models not defined. Where is models? Oh, admin, my bad. Now we can see both of our models appear here. So we have some customers and some orders which are attached to those customers. So these orders are not showing up properly as well, the object I mean. So that's probably, you guessed it right, because we don't have this added yet. We can return similarly the primary key or the ID of that object and some other data. For instance, here the okay, so this takes us to the next question, the dynamic data. So what I mean by the dynamic data here is, for instance, we have our first name and first name and last name and email defined inside that user object, right? But what if we want to show those here? Let's display a random guess, or someone who is some experience with the Django might say we can do something like this. We can do like user, that's fine. True, we can do that. Now this user is going to show up by default the username of the user, because by default the Django admin user, the abstract user, the str object for that returns only the username. But what if I want to show like some other data than the username? So that's the first approach we might try is like something like this. We can do maybe like this, but this doesn't work as of yet. So Django doesn't accept the nested objects, so we cannot do something like that. We can do this. We have seen like stuff like this inside the Django query set. When we get data from the database, we always do stuff like this to get or add some checks on the nested objects in the DB, but the list display doesn't accept this. So what's the way forward here? So there are a couple of ways around that. One is the model property. We can always define a model property on the model. So obviously the decision here is what is more suitable. What I mean by that is, for instance, I can easily define a model property, for instance full name, which makes more sense. I'll be using it a lot, and I can say return the first name and the last name. Right. And to make it a model property, I have to say add property. So now this full name, it doesn't exist like this full underscore name, and it doesn't exist like this in the database, but it's sort of a pseudo property which we have defined. It will serve the as same purpose like that. So now I can define that full name here. So it will essentially just join those first name and the last name and return it here like this. I have added this as my first name and this as my last name. So another way around this is like this full name defining here under the customer makes sense, sort of, but there's not always it doesn't always make sense to add stuff to our model. So we also have ability to add logic here as well. So we can simply define the same thing here. It accepts this time 2 argument. This time self is not from where we'll be getting the data, it will be from that object. For now I'll just print out just the first name, so we know like it's different from before. Right. So it's just showing me my first name, and it's picking it up from here. Okay, so what else we can so this is essentially not the calculating data, this is also the data coming from the database. We are sort of modifying it, playing it around it, like showing it in a different way, combining two data or something like that. But we can also do some calculations here to show some calculated stuff. For instance, what I mean by that, for instance, I can show, because we have customers and the orders, we can always show a count next here, like how many orders this customer placed, how many orders this customer placed. So that count, it doesn't exist in database, but when we're populating these fields, we can just right away going to the database and pulling out the orders for that customer, and then placing a number here, how many orders did this customer place. So we can do that as well. Let's do that. Okay, so we can return the count. Okay, so this might sound like sort of a not that good of an idea to be running this, because we get that if we're like displaying like 100, a list of 100 records, so this command will be uh, run 100 times. So it's essentially like 100 queries to the database, which will be kind of expensive if we do something like this filter and then just print out the count of that. But since we have appended this dot count in here, so what Django does by default is send a select query to the database, which is not that expensive on the database end. So it is kind of expensive, but not that much. We can, so far we're good. So this is currently showing me I have 3 orders. So all of them belongs to the same. So this first number I've shown, let's say in this. So the first one is the primary key of the object. So it's the orders, order 1, order 2, order 3, and then the customer it belongs to, which is all of them are the same customer. I can do something like dot. If I had this here, I could have done something like customer dot full name instead of doing like customer dot user and then pulling out first name and then pulling out second name from there. So you see these model properties come on handy sometimes. So all of the data we cannot add here in the models, but the data which is directly associated to the model, like the full name is associated with the customer here, it will be used multiple times. We might be appending it a lot of the places, so it's kind of handy to add a model property here and use it elsewhere as well. Okay, so moving forward, we have shown the DB fields which are direct from DB. We have shown the DB fields which are not so direct, which are being calculated on the go. Let's say if I add another object here, order. If I go to customer, it should show me the count as 4, right? So it's calculating on the page load and showing it here. So going one step further, because all of this what we are doing here is for the easiness of the user who is using this admin side, is for his easiness. So I have added this URL here, right? What if the requirement is something like that? I want to be able to click on this URL. I don't want to just it's being populated from somewhere. I want to open this page and I want to want to be able to click it right away and it opens maybe in the next window, right? So what if I want to, I'm essentially meaning here, what if we want to show the look and feel of this default behavior? Because right now all of these are just text fields and not like a clickable thing like an anchor. So I haven't actually displayed the boolean, but if I would have displayed the boolean, it would have came a bit UI wise better. And Django by default adds this ticks and crosses to the boolean fields by default, so we don't have to sort of beautify them. Okay, so the next thing is we want to be able to click on this URL, right? So first and foremost is I'll be definitely making a custom field which will be returning this, but instead of this as a static object, we'll be returning a dynamic HTML object. So let's see. Okay, so what I have shown, actually we're doing this for the GitHub profile, not phone number, my bad. I have to add this one here instead of that git. So for now, this is essentially doing what it was doing earlier, just this name doesn't look very good because I changed it to something else, like appended a get before it, and I did it on purpose to show another part of it. So what if we want to show that a different name than this, like get? We don't want this get underscore to be showing here like get GitHub profile here. We just want to show GitHub URL. So we can do this something like this. Dot short description. Make sure to spell that right, and whatever we will be placing here, it will be shown there. Right. Okay. See, so that's not the but we wanted to achieve to be able to click on it. We are not there yet. So what we have to do is be able to return this anchor object instead of actually go with the other formatting way. Right. This should be able to do it, but we can see here it didn't. So that's because it's returning the object as it is. We want to return it in some other format, which is HTML format. We have to import it as well. HTML, format HTML. Right. So what it has done is we have imported the format HTML, format underscore HTML from the utils HTML, and we just added our string to it. So what it has done, it has returned the instead of returning the string, it has returned the HTML object. So now we are able to click on it and go to the URL. But we wanted to open it in another page, so we can obviously add target and it will open it up in the next page, next tab. Okay, so far so good. We are able to add show static data, dynamic data, and some modification of the data. We can also do we can also do like showing a static object here, like maybe saying something like URL, just to make sure the URL of the GitHub are not very long and which messes up the other UI here, right? So we just add a static word here, and the URL is actually URL. The href is actually URL, which takes us to that URL. We can also change the UI of it however we want by adding custom styles as well. A class like Django comes with this button class, which we see everywhere. So it will make it look like a Django button, which we usually see everywhere else being used, right? So let's revert it and keep it like this for now. Okay, now coming to some more advanced use cases of it. For instance, like when we show the basic stuff, when we add the model to the Django admin, it adds some basic functionality to it, which we usually don't see here. Like right now, I don't see a search filter here, right? But Django actually added the search filter here by default. Let me show you how it added. If I do this like customer equals 1, it gives me same result. If I do like customer equals 2, it doesn't give any result. What it's doing is it's filtering the customers on the basis of this ID and returning them here, right? So by this I can confirm like Django added this filter here. So the next task, sort of we can say, is to be able to click on this this order count, very genuine requirement you can say, is to navigate from one admin page to another admin page with some customization, because this is also another admin page. We can always do like, we can like place this static URL here like we did with this and just append the customer ID to it, and we should be good to go. But we'll be doing it in a more complex way. Let's go and do it the simple way first and then the complex way. So we're already showing the count. All I have to do is format HTML, add the anchor. What else we want? The easier way should be like this, something like this, right? Where we can just go to this URL, and instead of this static ID, we should be able to append the first argument will go here, which will be object dot customer dot id or pk, and second argument, which will be here, will be this count. Okay. So clicking let's see if the error is related to this. There's no attribute customer. Oh, so we're already inside the customer object. We don't need to go one step further to get the customer, which would have been the case for the user, because for the order object. For the order, we have to go inside the customer and then the ID for the customer. But here we have the access to customer ID right away. So because the object itself is a customer object, right? So we are now seeing this string is not callable. Okay. So the it was actually issue was with the I was actually missing an ampersand here. So now I'm able to click on the ID and able to see this here. Okay, so add target line. To be able to click here and open it in the next tab. What else we can do here is we have always seen these pop-ups to appear in the Django admin side time to time. So because Django has this widget by default built in inside the Django package, so we can always leverage that. So what if we want to be able to click on it and that pop up comes up, we can add a class here called, let's see the class. So it's called related widget wrapper link. What it will do is it will open that specified URL, which in this case is the order of this specific, all of the orders of this customer. It will open it up in that pop-up. Okay, so this was how we did it, sort of in a not a proper way, we can say, because this URL scheme is sort of no good in a sense, because it's not dynamic, right? It's not changing, though it's fine, we can use it like this way. But what if we want to rename the app, or we do some stuff? We should be doing right the right thing, which is to be using the reverse method, which if you have seen already, which is this. So we would still be having this customer argument here, but instead of the URL being placed there statically, we'll be using this reverse. But yeah, we have to import it as well. Import it from Django shortcuts. So now to look at this argument inside the reverse. So this admin, this is actually the namespace of that app, the admin app, Django official admin app. So let's talk about the structure here a little bit. So it starts from the very basic. So we have the core app, customer app. So it will be this customer app, and then this is the model name. Even though we have models first letter capital, it starts with a capital case, but here everything will be small letters. And underscore this change list. This is a standard Django keyword for to specifying this page, this listing page. So this essentially is saying, like, go to the admin customer apps order model and open that change list page for it. This is the change list page, which is the listing page. So if I click on it now, it still open up that same page for them. But now we are doing it in sort of a, you can say, a better approach, using a better approach. Yep. So I guess, yeah, that's it. We have covered a lot of different scenarios regarding the Django list display customization on the admin side. We have shown basic static data coming from the database directly. We have shown some dynamic data, like just the count of it. We calculated all of the orders of this customer, of actually all of these customers. Right now I only have one customer list in the list, but if I had like multiple customers, all of that, each customer's count of orders would have been calculated separately and shown here. We have also added this sort of dynamic snippet format HTML thing. So this is just the starting. I've just given you a very heads up here. You can customize it any way you want. It accepts all of the CSS customizations. It accepts all of the any sort of customization you can do. You can display anything here which you want, essentially. And so yeah, that's it. I guess we have covered all of it. All of the things we can show inside. Yeah, the thing which is left so far is actually the sorting of it. as I mentioned in the start, I believe, like whichever field we add, we have a default sorting of it. Let's see what went wrong. Did I change anything? But I guess I didn't refresh the page in earlier. Let's see if it's working as well. Yep, it's working fine now. So I actually didn't refresh the page earlier, so that's why it wasn't working. So I was telling, like, this default ordering comes by default with the phone number. Like, I'm seeing with this phone number, but we don't see this order with these custom fields which we have. So that's, I guess, sort of curious homework assignment for you guys, so you can look it up and see how to achieve that. So I guess, yeah, that's all from my end. See you guys next time. Till then, bye.